The small veterinary clinic in rural Montana sat quiet in the early morning light. Dr. Sarah Mitchell had just unlocked the front door, her coffee still steaming in her travel mug as she flipped on the waiting room lights. It was barely 7 a.m., too early for appointments, but she always arrived early to check on overnight patients and prepare for the day ahead. She'd been running this clinic in the small town of Whitefish for nearly 8 years, treating everything from ranch horses to family cats, but nothing could have prepared her for what was about to walk through her door. Actually, waddle would be more accurate. Sarah was halfway through checking medication inventory when she heard it. A soft scratching sound at the front entrance, followed by an odd shuffling noise. She paused, listening. The clinic sat on the edge of town, backed up against national forest land, so wildlife visitors weren't completely unusual. Deer sometimes wandered through the parking lot. Once, a black bear had investigated the dumpster out back. But this sound was different, persistent, almost purposeful. She walked to the front door and peered through the glass. At first, she saw nothing. Then her eyes dropped lower, and her breath caught. A hedgehog sat on the welcome mat. But this wasn't just any hedgehog casually passing by. This was a mother, and clustered around her were 4 tiny babies, each no bigger than a tennis ball, their soft spines barely visible beneath downy fur. The mother hedgehog looked directly at Sarah through the glass, her small, dark eyes focused and intent. Then she did something that made Sarah's hand freeze on the door handle. The hedgehog reached out with one small paw and scratched at the door again. Deliberately, intentionally, like she was asking to be let in. If you've ever witnessed an animal asking for help, hit that subscribe button and share your experience in the comments. Sarah's veterinary training kicked in immediately. She crouched down slowly, trying to assess the situation through the glass before opening the door. The mother hedgehog appeared healthy at first glance, but something was clearly wrong. One of the babies lay completely still, barely moving. Another seemed to be struggling, its breathing visible even from this distance. The mother kept looking between her babies and the door, her distress obvious in every small movement. Sarah made her decision. She carefully opened the door just enough to crouch in the entrance. "Hey there, Mama," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need help?" The hedgehog didn't retreat. Instead, she moved closer, gently nudging the weakest baby forward with her nose, pushing it toward Sarah's outstretched hand. The message was unmistakable. Help them. Please. Sarah had treated countless animals over the years, but this moment hit differently. This wasn't a pet owner bringing in a sick animal. This was a wild mother, somehow understanding that inside this building, behind this door, was someone who could help her babies when she couldn't. How did she know? How did she find this place? Moving slowly, Sarah grabbed a clean towel from the supply closet just inside the door. She laid it on the floor and gently, carefully, began transferring the babies onto it. The mother hedgehog watched but didn't interfere, didn't try to protect them from Sarah's hands. She simply waited, trusting, her small body trembling with what could only be described as hope mixed with fear. Within minutes, Sarah had all 4 babies and the mother safely inside the clinic, settled in a quiet examination room. She worked quickly but thoroughly, her trained hands checking each tiny body. The smallest baby was hypothermic, its body temperature dangerously low. 2 others showed signs of dehydration. The 4th seemed relatively healthy but was clearly weakened. "You found me just in time, Mama," Sarah murmured as she prepared a warming station and began the delicate process of stabilizing the babies. The mother hedgehog sat at the edge of the examination table, watching every movement, her tiny nose twitching as she tracked Sarah's hands. Sarah had seen maternal instinct before, countless times in countless species. But this felt different. This mother had somehow known that her babies needed more help than she could provide. She had traveled to find it, had literally knocked on the door asking for assistance. The intelligence, the awareness, the sheer determination it must have taken was staggering. Drop your thoughts in the comments if this story is touching your heart. Over the next several hours, Sarah worked to save the hedgehog babies. She administered subcutaneous fluids to combat dehydration, used heat lamps to gradually raise the smallest one's body temperature, and provided supplemental feeding through careful syringe work. The mother hedgehog never left the examination room. She moved between her babies, checking on each one, occasionally touching Sarah's hand with her nose as if to say, "Thank you," or perhaps, "Please keep going." Sarah's assistant, Emily Carter, arrived at 8 a.m. for the start of regular clinic hours. She found her boss in the exam room, surrounded by heating pads and tiny hedgehogs, with tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, what happened? Are you okay?" Sarah looked up, smiling despite the tears. "I'm perfect. Look what walked in this morning." She explained the situation while continuing to monitor the babies. Emily stood speechless, watching the mother hedgehog gently nuzzle each of her young ones, her relief visible as they began to show signs of improvement. The smallest baby, the one who'd been nearly unresponsive on the doorstep, was now moving, its tiny mouth opening to accept drops of specialized formula. "I've never seen anything like this," Emily whispered. "How did she know to come here?" Sarah shook her head. "I have no idea. We're on the edge of town, backed up against the forest. Maybe she'd seen people, coming and going, associated the building with help. Maybe she'd watched us treat other animals through the windows. Or maybe..." She paused, looking at the small hedgehog mother. "Maybe animals just know more than we give them credit for." By noon, all 4 babies had stabilized. The crisis had passed. Sarah created a comfortable recovery area in one of the clinic's larger kennels, complete with soft bedding, food, water, and a heat source. The mother hedgehog settled in immediately, gathering her babies close, finally allowing herself to relax for the first time since arriving. Sarah's regular appointments continued throughout the day, but between each one, she returned to check on her unusual patients. Each time, the mother hedgehog would look up, make eye contact, and Sarah swore she could see gratitude in those small, dark eyes. By evening, the babies were active, feeding well, and showing every sign of full recovery. Sarah knew they'd need a few more days of monitoring before being released back into the wild, but the worst was over. She sat on the floor next to the kennel, watching the small family huddle together, and pulled out her phone to document the moment. "You're an incredible mom," she said softly to the hedgehog. "You saved their lives by being brave enough to ask for help." The mother hedgehog looked at her, then did something that Sarah would remember for the rest of her career. She carefully left her sleeping babies, walked to the front of the kennel, reached through the bars, and gently touched Sarah's finger with her nose. Just once. A moment of connection between 2 mothers, 2 caregivers, 2 beings who understood that protecting the vulnerable was worth any risk. 3 days later, Sarah released the hedgehog family back into the wild at the forest edge behind the clinic. All 4 babies were healthy, active, and ready to face the world. The mother hedgehog led them toward the tree line, but before disappearing into the underbrush, she turned back one final time. Sarah stood watching, and in that brief moment before they vanished into the forest, she felt something profound pass between them. Recognition, respect, gratitude. This incredible true story reminds us that maternal love transcends species, that intelligence and awareness exist in forms we're only beginning to understand, and that sometimes the bravest thing anyone can do is ask for help when they need it. That hedgehog mother didn't have words, but she found a way to communicate the most important message of all. Please save my babies. If this story restored your faith in the natural world, subscribe to our channel for more incredible true tales of animal intelligence and the unbreakable bonds between mothers and their young. Share this with someone who needs to remember that asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom.